Now, Ligeti is just one of 3 composers featured in the New York Philharmonic's Hungarian Echoes Festival, which takes place over 3 weekends, starting this Thursday. The festival is centered around the music of artists who have spent a significant amount of time in Hungary: Franz Joseph Haydn, George Ligeti, and Bela Bartok. I'm here with conductor, composer, and curator Esa-Pekka Salonen. And it would seem like Haydn, who is an 18th century composer, an Austrian composer, is sort of the odd man out here. You talked about him being an innovator in terms of being one of the main people to develop the symphonic form, but what's his relationship to Hungary?
Well, he lived in Hungary, what now is Hungary, of course in the Esterházy court. And as I said earlier, his first major gig as a Kapellmeister was to work for the Esterházys, and he actually ended up working for a couple of generations, and it was an amazing position to be in many ways, because the Esterházy family was highly sophisticated. They were music lovers, and they wanted the cutting edge modern stuff, and they had their own orchestra and excellent musicians, and they told Haydn, okay, here's the orchestra, write something for it. And make sure that this is exciting and interesting and unheard of, and that's what he set out to do. And of course, he was relatively isolated from the trends of Europe when he was basically working at the Esterházy. So he was kind of able to develop his very own thing, because he was not in a sort of constant dialogue with other artists and so on and so forth. So he wasn't following trends; he was actually creating them.
So Haydn was one of the most sort of cutting-edge, avant-garde composers of his generation.
He was a wild man. I mean, if you listen to these early symphonies, they are full of stuff that is astonishing, and also he wanted to show off his players, and also to some degree improve their financial position, because I think the deal was such that if somebody has to play something really difficult and solistic, they would get more money for that. So he wrote big solos for all kinds of people, including the contrabass and the bassoon, which was very unusual at the time, just to kind of make sure that he would be popular amongst his musicians.
Well, I'm very excited to hear some Haydn right now. Our very next guest is the pianist Marino Fermenti. He's known for his fiercely original interpretations of both contemporary and classical scores, and he's been called a Glenn Gould for the 21st century. He has worked with some of the most influential composers of this century and the last. Mr. Fermenti is about to perform the introduction and the earthquake from Haydn's 7 Last Words of Christ. That's a piece that was originally written to be performed in the context of a very sober Lenten Mass. And actually, Lent kicks off tomorrow, so it's almost liturgically appropriate.